Hello guys, it's Kasim. How you doing? Welcome back to my channel. I hope all is well. I hope you're looking after yourself. I hope you're keeping healthy. I hope you're keeping fit. I wanted to talk to you today about 5 things that a girlfriend can do to get her boyfriend's respect. So maybe you're in a situation in your life where you think you're like, do you know what? I really want my boyfriend to respect me. I really want his respect. I really want him to consider me as potential for a future wife. Maybe you've been having fun and you're potentially thinking you want him to actually see you in a slightly different way than simply just like a hookup. I say this because this was asked for me. Somebody asked me this question. A friend of mine asked me this question, and so I thought I would share it with you in the hopes that it can add some value to the quality of your life. But before we get into that, guys, if you want to help me get to 1,000 subscribers by June, please can you like and subscribe to my channel? You would be an absolute legend. Okay, let's go through these 5 things. So I'm going to keep this very simple, and they're very easy. Most of this stuff you already know anyway, so I hope it helps you. So the first thing that I wrote down here is stop posting stuff on the internet. And more specifically speaking, I mean stop posting stuff on the internet that is not aligned with your values, that is not aligned with where you're trying to go in the next kind of 10, 15, 20, 30 years of your life. So for example, if you're a woman who wants to be in a relationship, then posting things like all men are trash, all dads are pathetic and they never turn up to their kids, you post things about how men are liars, stuff like that, that isn't really aligned with where you're trying to go in the next kind of 10, 15 years. I say to people all the time that when it comes to choosing partners, men are much more careful about who they choose in terms of their partner, whilst women are a lot more careful about who they have children with. So men will have, you've seen it. Men can have kids with 2, 3, 4 different women, whereas women are but then it won't be married to any of them. Whereas women might be married 3, 4, 5 different times, but having kids is a very different thing to them, right? They may even be with you and love you and be with you and hook up with you, but whether they will actually have a child with you is a very different thing. So as part of that, you have to understand that when it comes to choosing a partner, men regard women's character very, very, very highly. Meaning, are you going to damage their reputation? Because basically, for most men, their social status is very much determined by respect. Therefore, how you are as their spouse, as their partner, is going to be a huge indication and a huge factor to how much respect that they have. Because one of the ways in which men respect other men is that we respect men who either have more money than us, who are more successful than us, or who can get like either more girls than us or a really fit girlfriend. We respect men in those, or of course, which I forgot to mention, is if they've achieved something which is very difficult. They've overcome really difficult odds, and then we respect that man. And so you have to understand that as his spouse, other men within the community, within his workplace, how they're going to determine whereabout he is in the social hierarchy is going to be hugely determined on his missus. So therefore, the things that you post on your Facebook, people will look at it. Now you might say, well, Kasim, my Facebook or my Instagram is all private, but anyone can see all of this stuff. Part of being careful about what you post on the internet is also understanding, like on your Instagram, don't be posting things of you on your Instagram where you're half naked, right, in your bikini. That kind of stuff isn't appropriate. And I'll get into that in more details in a second. But the first point is, if you want your man's respect, stop posting things on the internet that don't align with where you're trying to go in the next kind of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. 2, dress accordingly. So I've just talked about it, but pretty much I know that we live in a world where women are like, Cass, I want to be able to wear what I want. There shouldn't be double standards. Men shouldn't judge me for the way that I dress. But the reality of life is men do. Women even judge other women. And unfortunately, society says today, as it is at the moment, and it's going to be very difficult to change it, right? And you have to choose between, do you want to fight society or do you just want to change yourself? And unfortunately, society tells women and tells men and tells everybody that if you wear less clothes, if the more of your body that you show, the more promiscuous you are, the less value you believe of yourself, because anything which is sacred, anything which is precious, is kept under wraps. If a house is really expensive, there's usually gates around it. If you've got a diamond, you usually have insurance on it. Anything which is like really rare, really expensive, really fragile, you usually protect it. Therefore, if you're willing to show your body to anyone on the internet and whatever, even though you have the free choice to be able to do it, unfortunately, it doesn't look very good on you. And remember that men judge other men based on their women. So one of the things that I hear a lot about men, and I, because I've asked many guys, like, how would you know a girl is like is one for you? And many guys have said to me, can I take her to my staff do, to my work do, to my Christmas party, and leave her alone and not have to worry about her? Meaning, Christmas parties are usually there. She's gonna have access to successful men, uh, winners, award winners, people who are drunk, and so therefore, like, what is she gonna wear? Is she gonna be talking to people appropriately? Can she like associate with people? And so a lot of guys really, one of their main determining factor as to how they're figuring out like where you fit and if you would be a potential spouse for them is, are you going to embarrass them? Are you going to betray them? Loyalty. You hear men talk about it all the time. Loyalty. I want a woman who's loyal. Loyal, loyal, loyal. Why? Because unfortunately, a lot of women are not loyal. The moment that they get a man who is better, a lot of women go for the man who's better. So the way you dress is a very, very huge factor as your man. So like one of the things I hear women say is, well, Kasim, if he met me and I was dressed like this and I was partying and I was dressing like this, well, he should accept me for that, like that. Well, yeah, but when he met you, then he didn't know you, and you were single and you were living your best life, and that was a certain phase of your life. But now you're in a different phase of your life where you're looking at finding a partner, where you're looking at settling down. Therefore, this requires a different kind of mindset. It requires a different attitude. To sort of give you an example, it's like, look, you can obviously, when you're at home, dress however you want, right? You can dress in your pajamas, you can dress in your hoodies, but then if you go to meet the Queen, it's completely different. You have to dress in a certain way. Why? Because not because you're a bad person or you've changed, but because it's a completely different arena. It's a completely different culture. It's a the stakes are much higher, and it's the same if you want a higher level relationship. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I wrote down here is contribute ideas to move your success forward. If you want the respect of your spouse, come forward with ideas of how you can improve your lives. I mean, don't just let him lead, or don't just live independent lives, but just basically have sex with each other. But I mean, start coming up with ideas of how you can say, babes, by the way, I know that you're working for this company, and it's really good, but I've seen that you're really, really good with computers, or I've seen that you're really, really good with gaming. Why don't you start like a gaming channel online, or why don't you start streaming? You know, in the next kind of 5, 6 years, you might be able to make a fair bit of money. Or, babes, I know that you're really good with computers. Why don't you start? I'll help you, and we'll start doing, like, whenever in our spare time, we'll get computers in. I will do all the orderings, and I'll take on all the stuff, and you just fix it. And you tell me what parts, and I'll order the parts. This is where you start collaborating. Now you're building a life together. A lot of guys don't even consider their partners, their like girlfriends, to be potential wives, because a lot of men subconsciously and consciously realize that a lot of men want a man who's made. Right? It's very rare to find a woman who will actually build today, who will build with a man, who will start from the bottom and actually build something incredible. So, in other words, a lot of women tend to think about investing in a relationship in terms of the longevity of how long they've been with a person, right? I hear women say all the time, Kasim, how could he leave me? We've been together 10 years. No, men don't see it like that. Men see, what have you invested in our relationship, right? And that is actually worth keeping. So I would definitely say to you, if you want the respect of your man, and you want to take things to that next level, you want to start thinking about, how am I contributing? right? If you know that when he gets really, really, he goes out with certain people out and going out drinking, that he gets really bad, say to him, babes, I know obviously like sometimes when you go out with Ben, you get absolutely paro and you always make mistakes and you say you don't like it. Do you want me to come and pick you up at 1 o'clock instead of you staying out until 4? Do you want me to do that? I can do that and I can meet you wherever, right? It's things like this that all of a sudden you're starting to help him, you're starting to contribute to his future, to making him become a better person. This isn't about changing him, this is about simply coming up with ideas and suggesting to him, right? Yeah, that's what I would say to you. The fourth thing that I wrote down here is that don't use what he says to you against him. A lot of women have a habit of whenever a guy says something to him, for example, he will say to them, a lot of women have a habit of not keeping it to themselves or using it against a man later on. So, like, one of the things that will happen is, for example, a lot of guys will say to you as a woman, please to God, I'm going to tell you this, but don't tell anybody. He tells you something and then you go and tell your best friend or you go and tell your mum. Now, women tend to think that their mum or their best friend doesn't really count. They're different. But no, when a man says, I don't want you to tell anyone, it literally means he doesn't want you to tell anybody. But even further than this is that when he says something to you that is going to make him vulnerable, that is going to potentially make you see him in a different way, you have to consider about why he's telling you this. A lot of guys, one of the things that I hear from women a lot, women say, Kasim, he never talks, he never actually expresses himself. The reason why a lot of guys don't express themselves is because every time that they do, they're judged. Every time that they do, they're like, they are reprimanded, they are looked upon negatively. And so therefore, a lot of guys never bother trying to actually open up, to share their truth, to talk about things that they're actually interested in. For example, like, this is where the actual contribution stuff comes in, like I was saying earlier on. Like, for example, sexually, a guy might want to, for example, get involved in a threesome. But he'll never suggest that because, obviously, if he suggests that, almost every woman naturally is going to say, well, no, you're a cheater, whatever, you don't want me, whatever. So almost a lot of this kind of stuff has to be initiated by the woman. Because a lot of guys would do it. There's a lot of guys who won't, but there's a lot of guys who do it. So what I would definitely say to you is be very careful that anything he says to you, you don't use it against him. So if he says something to you about family being really important, then don't then in an argument say something like, well, you don't even see your family, or you only see your family once and I see my family 10 times, right? That may seem very insignificant to you as a woman, but to him, it is monumental because it's like, so if I say something to her, she's going to use it against me later on. Okay. And then a lot of women don't even realize they've done this. And these things are stacking up for guys because we're a lot more aware of it, right? We're a lot more aware. Guys in society are told all the time, don't be creeps, don't be weird, don't be like cringeworthy. So guys are a lot more sensitive to this kind of stuff. So when you say this stuff, when he says something to you and you react in this way, he's very, very observant towards it. That's the fourth thing. The last thing and the fifth thing that I would share with you is listen to him and understand that women and men are different. Meaning that, it is absolutely remarkable. It's very rare to basically find a woman who understands how men think and why men think the way that they do. And it's very rare to find a man who understands how women think and why they think that way. So to find a woman who actually understands how the men work and how other men respect men and how the struggles that men go through is so rare that if a man finds you, he's going to try to keep you at all costs. Like, for example, a common thing that a lot of women don't understand is in the guy world, almost every single guy you will speak to will never, ever allow for a woman to have best friends who are men. And the reason is because, firstly, other men will look at you and think you're an idiot. You let your missus have a guy who's her best friend and he's a guy. Are you stupid or something? He's going to sleep with her. He wants to get with her, right? And part of this is understanding that from a man's perspective, if you friend zone a man, the only reason why a man will be the only reason why a male who thinks that you're attractive would want to be your friend is if if you won't let him get with you. I guarantee you that if a guy thinks you're attractive and you said to him, oh, I'm feeling horny tonight, shall we, like, do you want to come over? No matter how much of your best friend he is, he'll sleep with you. Okay? The only time this won't happen is if you grew up with him as a childhood friend or is gay. Excuse me. My apologies. So those are the only two times when those two rules don't apply. Either you grew up together as childhood friends or he's gay. And so when you begin to understand how men think, why men do the things that they do, you go up way higher in terms of respect, because the man then doesn't have to constantly have to keep battling you. He doesn't have, like, if he says to you, babes, I really don't want you to be going out and meeting your best friend and going to his house and you two going for meals, because then he seems like he's a bad guy. Do you understand what I'm saying? You automatically would just say it to him and say, I'm not going out, like, Ben wants me to go out for a meal with him, I want you to come with us. See, that completely changes things, right? What else? When you understand, for example, that that a man once you're in a relationship, he feels like he can't take risks anymore, right? Because he knows he has to provide. So if you understand that, you then and you know that he really wants to do something, you as a woman all of a sudden put him in a position where you're like, babes, I really don't care, by the way. I know you would love to become a gamer, but I know at the moment you are working in Tesco's. If you wanted to take a jump and try it out, try it out for like a year or 2 years to see if you like it or you can make it, go for it. I'm telling you, you go up on a different level. Because now he doesn't feel the pressure that he constantly has to be on it, that he constantly has to provide. Yes, so that's where I thought that I would share that with you, because that's what I shared with my friend when she asked me the question. I hope you found it useful. If you want to help support me get to 1,000 subscribers by June, please like and subscribe to my channel. But apart from that, I'll leave you to it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.